In 1972, when America was fascinated by heartwarming family TV shows, the Brady Bunch emerged as a symbol of perfect happiness. In the spotlight, Marcia Brady, the beautiful, smart, and always smiling daughter, became the ideal model that every young girl longed for. But few people knew that the sweet image was a completely different truth. Her father was a fearful and controlling man, and her mother hid a terrible secret. Caught between teenage fame and inner emptiness, Maureen began to lose herself in addiction. And what really happened the night she returned home from the reality TV show? And why do some people say that once you know the truth, you will never watch Marcia Brady again?
I did things that I'm not proud of.
Maureen McCormick was born in 1956 in California's San Fernando Valley, into a warm and loving family. The youngest of 4 siblings, she grew up surrounded by the care of her parents, Irene and Richard McCormick, who always encouraged their children to follow their dreams. At the age of 6, she took her first step into the entertainment world by entering the San Fernando Valley beauty pageant. Not only did she win, but Maureen also amazed the audience and judges with her charm and natural presence in front of the camera, a rare quality in a young girl. That victory marked a turning point in her life. A talented producer, recognizing Maureen's star potential, helped her land her first opportunity in the entertainment industry. In 1964, at just 8 years old, she appeared in a national commercial for Mattel, smiling brightly alongside Barbie dolls, the symbol of American childhood at the time. That image quickly became etched in the minds of millions of viewers and turned Maureen into a familiar face on television. Thanks to her natural appeal and versatile acting skills, Maureen went on to appear in popular shows like Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, and My 3 Sons. The packed filming schedule didn't discourage her. On the contrary, it deepened her passion for acting. Every role became a new experience, helping her learn how to express emotions and explore the vast world of Hollywood. In 1969, destiny truly smiled on Maureen McCormick. At the time, the 12-year-old girl with golden blonde hair and a radiant smile caught the eye of renowned producer Sherwood Schwartz, who had previously found success with Gilligan's Island. He was casting for a new television series about a family with 3 boys and 3 girls, the Brady Bunch. More than 260 children auditioned, but only one made him stop and take notice: Maureen McCormick. She embodied the innocence, authenticity, and youthful energy needed for the role of Marcia Brady, the beautiful, charming, and picture-perfect eldest daughter. From the moment it premiered, the Brady Bunch became an American cultural phenomenon. The opening sequence, with its 3x3 grid of 9 squares, each showing a family member's face, quickly became iconic, what people today call the Brady Bunch effect. In that frame, Maureen appeared in the top left corner, with sparkling eyes and a bright smile, an image etched into the memories of millions of viewers for decades. The overwhelming success catapulted Maureen from an unknown little girl to a beloved child star across America. She became the symbol of the ideal teen, beautiful, confident, and always cheerful. But behind the smiles on screen, life on set grew increasingly difficult. Working under pressure with 5 other child actors sometimes made the atmosphere tense. Minor disagreements, jealousy, and the usual teenage conflicts gradually surfaced. In particular, the relationship between Maureen and Eve Plum, who played her on-screen younger sister Jan, was frequently tested. They weren't just sisters on TV, but also 2 strong personalities competing off-screen. The writers cleverly turned real-life tensions into authentic storylines, adding depth and realism to the show. However, the root causes of these disputes were often surprisingly ordinary or even humorous, like Maureen once revealing that Eve had a habit of passing gas on set or walking around between scenes without clothes on. Incidents on the set of The Brady Bunch, as recounted by Maureen McCormick, still surprise many fans. She shared that she often witnessed awkward and funny situations between the young cast members, and at times, the atmosphere on set became uncomfortable. Nevertheless, those experiences helped create some of the most memorable moments of her early career in show business. In 1973, Maureen's career took an unexpected turn. While she was at the height of her fame as Marcia Brady, she was involved in a minor car accident that left her nose swollen and badly bruised. This posed a major challenge for filming, as the injury couldn't be concealed with makeup. Instead of halting production, the writers of The Brady Bunch seized the opportunity to get creative. They wrote a new episode centered around the nose incident. The result was one of the most iconic episodes in American television history. The scene where Marcia gets hit in the face with a football and screams the legendary line, "Oh, my nose!" That moment became a cultural touchstone, referenced and parodied in countless other shows for years to come. Yet behind the cheerful image of this ideal family show lay far more complex stories. The young actors, including Maureen, were all navigating the challenges of adolescence. Around this time, Maureen began developing real feelings for Barry Williams, who played her older brother, Greg Brady. That first spark of romance brought a unique dynamic to their time on set, one that was both sweet and filled with tension. One day, when Maureen McCormick and Barry Williams were alone in Barry's dressing room, the air between them suddenly became strangely tense. Both were teenagers at the time, unsure and overwhelmed by their first real emotions. It felt like the moment might turn into something more intimate, until a sudden knock at the door broke the tension like a soap bubble, leaving both of them feeling awkward and flustered. But that wasn't the end of it. Barry later admitted that, aside from Maureen, he also had a special crush on Florence Henderson, who played their on-screen stepmother, Carol Brady. Although Florence was much older and always saw Barry as a son, her warmth and charm made it impossible for him not to feel something. Meanwhile, Maureen was keeping a secret of her own. In her memoir, Here's the Story, Surviving Marcia Brady and Finding My True Voice, she revealed that, as a young girl, she once had a quiet crush on Robert Reed, who played her on-screen father, unaware at the time that he was gay. Though the feeling was fleeting, it left her confused about the blurry line between fiction and reality. And, as if things weren't already complicated enough, Maureen later caused a stir when she revealed on a radio show that she once had a little bit of a romantic thing with Eve Plum, who played her younger sister, Jan Brady. However, she quickly clarified that it was just a joke, possibly meant to generate buzz for her book. Eve Plum, however, didn't seem amused. While she never responded publicly, her actions spoke louder than words. When Oprah Winfrey invited the entire Brady Bunch cast for a special reunion, Eve was the only one who declined to appear. The success of the Brady Bunch extended beyond television. As the show's popularity swept across America, producers saw the opportunity to transform the Brady family into singing stars. The cast recorded and released 4 albums filled with upbeat, youthful songs that matched the show's spirit. They even went on a nationwide tour, drawing thousands of fans to their live performances. During that time, Maureen McCormick, who played the perfect Marcia Brady, grew even closer to Barry Williams, her on-screen brother Greg. Yet her closest musical partner wasn't Barry, but Christopher Knight, who played Peter Brady. The two often performed duets and even released a joint album, quickly becoming one of the most beloved young musical duos of the era. From the outside, the Brady Bunch looked like a Hollywood dream, sweet, vibrant, and full of laughter. But in reality, the show didn't achieve impressive ratings during its original run. Over time, however, through endless reruns, it grew more beloved than ever and became a lasting part of American pop culture. By the time she turned 19, Maureen McCormick was a household name. She had it all: fame, fortune, and the admiration of millions. With her radiant smile and image as the perfect Marcia Brady, Maureen seemed to embody the American dream. But behind the glow of success was a painful reality she carried alone. When the applause faded and the cameras stopped rolling, Maureen was forced to face a bitter truth. Her real family was nothing like the warm, loving Brady family that audiences adored. Her mother, Irene McCormick, struggled with mental illness, while one of her brothers faced similar challenges. Her father, Richard McCormick, grew increasingly rigid in his religious beliefs, imposing strict and stifling rules on the family. Amid all this turmoil, Maureen tried desperately to maintain the image of the perfect girl that Hollywood expected, until a heartbreaking secret came to light. Maureen discovered that her grandmother had once contracted syphilis and, in a moment of despair, had unknowingly passed it on to Maureen's mother. The disease eventually led to her mother's mental instability and confinement in a psychiatric hospital, a family shame that had been hidden for years. The revelation cut deeply into Maureen's heart, shattering her belief in the ideal family she had always clung to. Unable to reconcile the glamorous world of television with the pain of her real life, Maureen began to spiral into crisis. She turned to parties, drugs, and endless nights of escapism to numb the pain. But the fleeting thrill only pushed her further from herself. The image of perfect Marcia Brady, once a symbol of an entire generation, slowly crumbled, giving way to a Maureen McCormick lost between Hollywood's bright lights and her own inner darkness. Between the ages of 18 and 20, Maureen endured the darkest years of her life. Fame and pressure drove her into a cycle of partying, addiction, and reckless choices. In her memoir, she candidly described that period as a journey of self-destruction, saying she believed living for the moment was the only way to forget the pain. "I lived as if there were no tomorrow," Maureen wrote. "Drugs made me believe everything was fine, until I no longer recognized who I was." During those 3 years, she went through 3 abortions, each one leaving deep emotional scars that would haunt her for years to come. One of the most heartbreaking turning points in Maureen McCormick's life came one morning after several sleepless nights. She woke up exhausted, suddenly remembering she had an important meeting with Steven Spielberg, who was casting for Raiders of the Lost Ark, the film that would later become legendary. She arrived at the meeting with dark circles under her eyes, her mind foggy, and her appearance worn down. Spielberg looked at her quietly, then handed her an orange, as if to say gently, "Wake up." She didn't get the part, and that golden opportunity slipped away forever. Rumors spread that a producer once told her bluntly, "You'll never work in Hollywood again." But Maureen didn't give up. Despite being labeled a fallen star, she kept fighting to find her way back, appearing in small roles on television shows such as Happy Days, Donnie and Marie, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island. Though once adored across America, Maureen McCormick never stopped longing to be recognized as a serious actress. She wanted to escape the shadow of perfect Marcia Brady, the blonde, smiling girl living in an unreal world of happiness. Deep down, Maureen yearned for a role that was raw and complex, something that would prove she could break free from her past image. When she learned that Midnight Express, a powerful drama about drug trafficking and imprisonment in Turkey, was casting, she saw it as a chance to resurrect her career. She poured her heart into preparing for the audition, determined to show she could embody a dark, conflicted character, the complete opposite of Marcia Brady. But when she stepped into the casting room, the director's eyes didn't see that. To him, she was still the Brady girl, soft, sweet, and far too wholesome to play a ruthless drug smuggler. Maureen was rejected. She later admitted that the rejection felt like the final nail in the coffin of my serious acting career. By 1981, she agreed to return to the role that had made her famous, in The Brady Girls Get Married. However, neither Marcia Brady nor the woman who played her was the same anymore. Behind the on-screen smiles, Maureen was still struggling with addiction and emotional instability. Every day on set was a battle. When she missed even a single day of filming, the entire crew panicked, afraid she might not make it back. To keep production running smoothly, the producers implemented strict rules just for her, including a ban on Maureen driving herself to the set. Every aspect of her schedule, transportation, and routine was closely monitored. Still, through sheer determination, Maureen managed to push through that difficult period. She completed her role, and in doing so, began to rediscover her balance, opening a new chapter in her life, one of love and redemption. Even as she continued battling her addiction, she started dreaming of a stable, meaningful life and hoped to find a good man. One night at a concert, she spotted a man in the crowd and immediately thought, "That's the man I'm going to marry." From that moment on, she had one mission: to make him believe she was the kind of woman worth marrying. His name was Michael Cummings, and Maureen soon learned that he was a devoted churchgoer. So she began attending the same church, hoping their paths would cross again. When they finally met, she invited him to a party, and their relationship quickly blossomed. As they grew closer, Maureen opened up about the chaos in her life, her addiction, her pain, and her fears. But before long, her old demons resurfaced. During their courtship, she relapsed. Fortunately, Michael Cummings wasn't the kind of man who ran away when things got hard. Instead of leaving, he stayed. He chose to stand by her side and face the darkness together. Though Maureen was still far from recovery, the two were married on March 16, 1985. After marrying Michael Cummings, Maureen hoped her life would finally find peace. But the early years were anything but easy. She battled addiction, anxiety, and her own inner darkness. There were countless rounds of treatment, interventions, and seemingly endless therapy sessions. One of her doctors was Eugene Landy, a controversial therapist known for his extreme methods, which he had also used on Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. At first, Maureen believed Landy could help her rebuild her life. But the deeper she got into his therapy, the more lost she felt. "I didn't know where I was going, or who I was becoming," she later admitted in her memoir. What she had hoped would be a path to healing instead became a trap of dependency and emotional turmoil. Eventually, Maureen made the bold decision to walk away from Landy's program entirely, cut off contact, and start over with one simple goal: to live clean, one day at a time. No expensive treatments, no heavy medication, just the unwavering determination of a woman too exhausted to keep falling, but too strong to give up. And miraculously, that simplicity saved her. After conquering her addiction, Maureen faced another battle, recurring depression and paranoia that made everyday life almost unbearable. To prevent herself from slipping back into despair, she began taking Prozac, an antidepressant that helped her regain emotional stability and slowly rebuild her life. Meanwhile, life moved forward. In 1987, Maureen McCormick returned to the screen with Return to Horror High, a quirky horror comedy that didn't make much of a splash, but held special meaning as it marked the film debut of a future Hollywood star, George Clooney. A year later, she reprised her role as Marcia Brady in A Very Brady Christmas. Though she had once sworn to escape the shadow of the Brady family, Maureen found herself returning, partly due to financial difficulties, and partly because that familiar world was the only place where she still felt grounded amidst the chaos of her life. In May 1989, Maureen and Michael welcomed their daughter, Natalie Michelle. The moment she held her baby in her arms, Maureen thought the storms of her past had finally passed. But the echoes of those dark years lingered. Panic attacks, sleepless nights, and a constant fear of relapse haunted her. Still, even in that darkness, a small light began to flicker. Maureen decided to return to the stage, the place she had always truly belonged. She took on the role of Rizzo in the Broadway production of Grease. Standing under the stage lights, hearing the roar of the crowd, she felt alive again. That experience reignited something inside her, a desire to make music once more. In 1995, Maureen released a country music album titled When You Get a Little Lonely, a project she poured her heart into. She specifically asked her brother, who owned a record label, not to mention the Brady Bunch. "I want people to listen to me because I'm Maureen, not because I'm Marcia," she said. But when the album came out, her heart sank. A large label on the cover read, "Marcia, Marcia, Marcia." She felt completely betrayed. The marketing team had used the famous Brady slogan to draw attention, disregarding her plea for independence. Her dream of breaking free from the Brady image was instantly crushed. The album flopped. Critics dismissed it, and Maureen was left feeling angry and disheartened. However, from that failure, a new door unexpectedly opened. Offers for new roles began to come in, giving her the chance to start over. This time, she wasn't the perfect Marcia Brady anymore. She was a woman who had stumbled, suffered, and was finally learning how to stand on her own. In 1997, a television network decided to bring the life of country music queen Barbara Mandrell to the screen in the biopic Get to the Heart. The Barbara Mandrell story,